Identifying
The king of cakes. Chopper for the win.
G'day guys, welcome back to Cakes by Chopper. Today we have Mr Peabody for you from the Mr Peabody and Sherman movie. What you're going to do is head over to the Cakes by Chopper Facebook page, print out the Mr Peabody template, cut out that and the nose, place it on top of your cake. Then when you cut out your cake with the knife vertically all around the edge, keeping it nice and straight, you're going to cut out his nose and taper it down from one side to the other, making sure it is the side where the nose is. Then you're going to give it a layer of buttercream, place on the nose and the earpiece, which I just cut out of scraps, place them on top of the cake, and then you're going to go around and give it a full crumb coat, making sure all the edges are nice and smooth and rounded off because you don't want any harsh lines in your fondant. Place that into the fridge for 5-10 minutes to let it set. Once it's done, pull it out and cover it with white icing. Then you're going to start working the fondant down from the top, right down the sides, pushing it in gently. Now, when you say work this down, you're not actually pushing and rubbing in. You're sort of just coaxing it to the edge of the cake, and then it'll apply itself. A lot of people do push it and rub it too much, and that tears it. You're sort of just guiding it in to sit and then fit flush against the cake. Alright, trim off the excess, then you can rub that over and smooth the top out if you like. Then I use some black fondant to cut out his eyebrows, and as you can see here, I use the template to cut into sections for the spacing. This is how I get the proportions right in where things sit. Now for his nose, you're going to roll out some more black fondant. You want to get this quite thin because it is sitting on top of more fondant. So cut out the nose, make it a little bit bigger than the actual template, just so when you place it on, it's got the sides to round down and make it look like it's actually sitting up off his face. Using the end of a paintbrush, I gave him some nostrils and then cleaned up and smoothed the edges around the back. For his glasses, I used a bit more thicker black fondant and I cut out the glasses. And as you can see, I only did one eye here and then just doubled that up, and it sits off the face perfectly. So just cut out that shape. Using a guide to cut out the circle in the middle. If you can find an easier way, then by all means. This is how I found it easiest. It was a little bit tricky to keep the circles in line and keep them nice and smooth. But once I did that, I placed it into the freezer and then let them harden. If you want to leave that dry overnight, that would be a lot better, but I freeze things a lot of the time because I generally serve my cakes straight up and they don't sit very long. So unfortunately, I didn't film this part where I painted in his eyes and his ears and mouth, but you're just following the lines on the template. If you're unsure of these, you can put the template on top and gently push in a sculpting tool to mark out where these go, and that'll help you draw them in proportion. Using some red gel food dye, I painted on his bow tie and then lined that off with a black. And then in the middle of his eyes, I painted that in a light green. You have to be careful when you're doing the eyes because I paint the eyes on first and then I colour them. If you smudge that black, it's going to make them just look like two big black eyes. So be very careful, use a thin brush. Or if you're tricky enough, you can paint the green in first, but that would be too clever. Okay, to line this cake off, I use more black fondant, which I just rolled into a snake. If you can get it as even as possible with your fingers, that's great. I'm not so great at that, so I just eyeball it. And then place that around the cake, trim it off where you want the join to be. I generally hide the joins in the corners, and then you're finished with your Mr. Peabody cake once you put on his glasses, which I just took out of the freezer. There you go. Very quick, very simple. I think you'll agree it looks great. Great for a birthday party of any Mr. Peabody fan. As always, thank you so much for watching, guys. Please check out these 5 featured videos. In the video screens, you see my Frozen series, 2 olive cakes and an Elsa. Also the Minion and my Om Nom cake. Lastly, get in touch with me on social media. I'd love to hear from you guys. Hope you're well, and I'll see you next time.